I mean, Joe Joyce looked like a different fighter to me, and I'm curious to hear from your perspective. Was it just because he fought a southpaw? By the way, he's been in training camp for at least 8 weeks. He knows he's fighting a big 285-pound heavyweight with a straight left. It was like right down the middle. Here it comes. He might as well have had a friggin' siren and flashing lights on it when it was coming down the middle. But yeah, I think everyone was shocked. I think Zhang was maybe like a 10, 12 to 1 underdog. And my God, he beat the brakes off of Joyce for the entire fight. What do you think, and where do you think Joyce goes from here, and what do you think is next for Zhang?
Joyce, to me, he was always what he is. You know, he's as slow as an ice wagon going uphill. You know,
an ice wagon. That's a good one.
You know, he's a ponderous guy, and he's a good puncher, tough as nails, good chin, you know, gets insulted if you miss him for the most part. And he was beating guys. You know, they were picking it right, but he beat he beat a good fighter in Joe Parker, you know, and a good boxer, good fighter, experienced guy. I'm going to go out there on a limb and tell you something that nobody touched on, and everyone has a different sort of chronological time clock as to when they get old. I always talk about fighters get old in a different, you got to judge them chronologically in a different way, where they get old partly because of how many punches they've got hit with, not just only chronologically, not only by the number, the year that they were born and the number that's, that now registers as their birthday, as their birthday. I think he got old. Now, listen, he's that slow guy. He's easy to hit. He's a good puncher. He was always relentless. He wasn't that relentless. He was even slower than usual. I just felt, I'm taking nothing away from Zhang, I just felt that, listen, I know the other guy's a year older. So what? Everybody has a different time clock. I look at George Foreman. There's a movie coming out about him, the great man, because he didn't get old. He didn't get old like other people get old. He won a world title when he was 45. Archie Moore, the great old mongoose. Some of these fighters, Jersey Joe Walcott, Ezra Charles. Some of them just did it later in their careers. They were different genetically. They were made up differently. But Joyce, for all the things that are still consistently the same as far as his style, his abilities, his lackings, his strengths. He looked like he got old. And he also looked like, you touched on it, I tweeted it, he had no clue how to deal with the southpaw. Like no clue, no preparation. He looked I don't want to pick on the British heavyweights, but he looked as unprepared as his compatriot Dillian White did when he fought Tyson Fury. You're fighting a certain style. You got to be ready for that style. It's up to you and your people to get you ready. That's your responsibility, their responsibility. Get you ready for that style. Fury has a certain style. Big son of a gun, fights on the outside. He can come get you too, but he fights on the outside. He looks to set you up with the jab, to hit you with the right hand or the uppercut. Dillian White had no clue. It was a disgrace. I know that's a powerful word. It was really, really an embarrassment how unprepared, and it was clear to everyone. I don't care if you've never watched a fight. You go in there and say, well, this guy seemed like he had no idea of how to deal with this guy and what he was going to do. And that's what Joyce looked like. He had no clue that he was fighting a lefty. No idea of how to deal with, as you said, with that left hand coming at him all night long. Just eating them. Finally closing his eye. So which is how the fight got stopped. Who knows if it kept going on? But the way it was going, it didn't look like it was going to change. But with a guy who's a big guy and a puncher, you never know, because that's how Joyce usually gets his wins.
Yeah, but as much as Joe Joyce may have been able to end it with that eraser, there was only he took those shots so well. But at some point, something's got to give. And
it was. But that's what I'm saying. It was given his, and not just his eye. But listen, I'm saying that there was two things. One, he was completely unprepared. Now, on the other side of the coin, there's always two sides to the coin. Zhang was prepared. He's not going to make you forget about, Joe Louis or Muhammad Ali, Zhang. Let's not get crazy here. But the guy was prepared. They did their homework. They were professionals. He knew that the southpaw killer is the right hand, and that's what Joyce has. And Joyce was going to try to land it. He knew he was able to avoid that, not in a scintillating way, but in an efficient enough way where he wasn't getting hit with it. Again, he wasn't going to make you think that he was a larger version of Floyd Mayweather or Sweet Pea Whitaker, but he was doing what he needed to do against a slow-handed, slow-footed guy. And on top of it, he might have got a little help by Father Time. He might have. And so all the credit to Zhang. Prepared, knew how to get away from the right hand, the one thing that could deter him from a win, derail him from a win. And he did an efficient job, and I give him credit for that. I don't give credit, though, to some of these commentators who they're not insulting my intelligence, but because I think I know what I'm watching already. But I think on the whole, they think they're insulting, or they just take for granted that they can tell the fans anything they want and they're going to go along with it because they feel it's their job to do that, to, make their paycheck and to pretty up, so to speak, their product and put out their things that are not necessarily accurate, to build it up a little bit, again, for their paycheck. I shake my head like, when are the fans going to say, wait a minute, we know a little bit better than that? Like, one of them said it was an extraordinary fight. No, it wasn't. It wasn't an extraordinary fight. It was a sensational fight, extraordinary fight, whatever term he used. And then another one used, I don't know if it was the same one, but another one said that Zhang looked like was a really slick boxer. I'm trying to remember exactly. I thought I wrote down exactly what the term was. But basically, it came out to Zhang is really a top slick boxer. Really? I mean, no. Again, everything I just laid out is how it transpired and why it transpired that way. He was, he was prepared. Yeah, he was able to avoid the right hands he needed to from a guy who kind of yelled from across the ring that they were coming before they came. All right. But please, again, just don't just take for granted that you can put anything out there and the fans are just going to go along with it. That you're going to tell the fans that they just watched, the second coming of Gene Tunney. You know what I mean?